You need to travel. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're expecting some grand plan that's going to convince you to travel and convince you to get yourself out of your comfort zone and go where you want to go. For me, that place was Japan. I've been in Japan right now for around 2.5 months, and it was the best decision I have ever made. So why should you travel? Well, especially if you're in your late teens or early 20s, you don't have a lot of time to be young. I want you to use this video as a sort of awakening to get up and start planning. Now, and the number one biggest reason I think why people don't plan is because, number one, maybe it's the cost, but I think more importantly, number two, is that you're not actively trying to plan toward that goal. And it's not going to be an easy process. Wherever you want to go in the world, you need to do research, you need to plan ahead, you need to be able to save money. But I promise you it is worth it in the end. Now, why is traveling so important, especially at a younger age? Well, it completely changes your perception of literally everything. This is determined by, the people you meet, the experiences you gain, and you simply won't achieve those things if you stay comfortable, if you stay in your hometown, if you stay hanging around the same people. There's no sort of growth or development. I think the fastest way to be able to grow as a person is to be able to travel, is to meet different people from different backgrounds, to experience different cultures, and to just be in a different environment. It doesn't have to be as big as going to another country. Maybe it's exploring a new city, maybe it's going to a new part of your state, or wherever you're from, a new part of the city. Maybe it's more in the countryside of where you're from, maybe it's more city life. As long as it's different from what you're used to, I think everyone can gain a valuable experience from going to a different place and getting out of your comfort zone. One of the biggest things I've learned within the past couple years is you only grow when you're out of your comfort zone. You only improve and change as a person if you're uncomfortable. And it's those uncomfortable situations I think you really need to chase, especially when you're younger, because you don't want to be stuck in the same cycle of doing the same things and be in this repetition of being static and not being able to grow, right? And I think the best way you could do that is to travel. So I want you to take this video, take this as a sign to go travel. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience on traveling, especially alone. I think one of the biggest reasons why people don't travel is because, you want to go with your friends, you don't want to go alone, right? And I think it's really necessary for you to go alone, especially. Number one, it's a lot easier. I'm sure you've been in this scenario where it takes you weeks and weeks to plan something with, a group, because you have to consider everyone's, schedule and everything, and you end up not even going to wherever you're planning, right? That's happened to me dozens of times. And the best thing you can do is to just go alone. And it's not because you don't want to be around your friends. It's not because you're a loser or you want to be alone or you're a lonely person. It's simply because when you're alone and you travel, you don't have any sort of influence. You get to react to things naturally, and you be able to experience it through your own eyes, not based off someone else's perception or someone else's viewpoint, if that makes sense. And you're able to take in that whole experience truly for yourself. And if there's anything I've learned with solo traveling and being alone for such a long time in another country, is that you get exposed to so many different things. You put yourself into an uncomfortable situation with so many obstacles that you have to cross. One of the main obstacles I have from living in Japan and originally being from the US is obviously the language barrier, but also the cultural barrier too. Learning how to blend in with society and being able to respect the culture that you're unfamiliar with. And I think you can experience this traveling to any place that you're not used to. The amount of things I've learned within just 2 months of staying in Japan is so much. I've learned about the language. I learned about the thought process of many Nihonjin, many Japanese people living in Japan. And I would have never been able to experience this if I didn't get out of my comfort zone and to just travel, to just go, right? So if you're watching this and you're stuck on whether you should just make that payment and click that flight button, do it. And I promise you, you won't regret it.